Hey everybody, Steve Vigil back again for another great video about rental properties. We're talking about buying profitable rental properties and some of the things that I think you need to be looking out for when you're looking for rental properties. I think that there's a million different beliefs about how to buy rental properties. There's a lot of different ways you can buy rental properties. Like a lot of we've been buying rental properties for a number of years now. And we have a very particular formula about how we go about doing it. Doesn't mean it's the only way that you can buy rental properties, but I want to always buy rental properties that have equity in them. I want to have rental properties that have particular rent ratios on them. And I think it's important to share that information because not everybody thinks that way. Not everybody is taught that way. And depending on what group you might be listening to or learning from, may have very, very different opinions than that for a variety of reasons. So, I want to make sure that I'm giving you good information based on my own experience. That's what I always do. That's always the education I'm going to give you. So let me go to my screen share here, and we'll get going here on this podium. Okay. So how do you determine your ARV on your rental property? This is something that I think a lot of people get. There's a lot of bad advice, I think, given on this. Or, if you're buying properties from wholesalers, oftentimes it's just, they're just trying to move that property, and they really don't know the process. They, once you buy a property from a wholesaler, you've paid them. They're out of the deal. They don't care anymore. So if you bought that deal incorrectly, now that problem becomes yours. So having a little insight on how some things really work, I think is really important. So that's what this video, this section I'm going to be talking about. So determining, how are you going to determine that ARV? And the reason I say that is oftentimes I will see a property be sent out by a wholesaler, and I'm not meaning just to pick on wholesalers, but this is just kind of the reality of it. And I'll get a property and they'll say, they'll give you the price, they'll give you the ARV, and then they'll say, if you can flip this property or you can keep it as a rental property. But if you're going to flip it, it's going to cost you $30,000 to rehab it. If you want to keep it as a rental property, it's going to cost you $10,000 to rehab it. Now, I'm not questioning those numbers. I'm not questioning it's going to cost you $10,000 to rehab it for a rental or $30,000 for the flip. But what I am questioning is if they're giving you, for example, an ARV of $150,000. If you're only putting $10,000 into it for a rental property, the ARV is not going to be $150,000. That ARV is going to be much lower than that. And the first thing that's going to happen when you put that $10,000 of a rehab in it, and then you go to refinance that property out, first thing that your lender is going to do is send an appraiser out there to appraise the property. And that property is not going to appraise at $150,000. It may appraise at $130,000, $135,000, whatever that number is. And now you're bringing a bunch of money out of pocket to closing. So the rental rehab you do on that property is going to determine the ARV for that rental property. That is the reality of it. So I'm not saying don't put $10,000 in it for a rental rehab. That may be fine and dandy. But if you're going to do that, then you have to determine that your ARV is going to be much lower. You have to determine what the ARV is going to be based on that $10,000 rehab for that property and based on that neighborhood. So if I'm going in and I'm buying it where my ARV is 130 and I'm doing my numbers backwards off of that, and I'm still hitting my margins, because your lender's still going to, you're still going to have to be at the 70% LTV, probably 75% LTV. And I don't like bringing money out of pocket, so I want to hit my numbers. So that's something that I see people get messed up on all the time. So I want to throw that out there because it's important that you know that when you're refinancing that property out, appraiser's coming out, and what the appraiser says is what the bank is going to go by, what your lender is going to go by, period. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. So are you buying rental properties as equity over time play? Are you buying your rental properties for monthly cash flow? Are you buying your rental properties as a value play? Or are you buying your rental properties as a momentum play? So I'm throwing those questions out there. We're going to go through them here real quick, one at a time. All right, if you're buying equity over time, I mean, equity over time is going to benefit all of us no matter what. I think you still need to buy them with equity in them going in, and you still need to look at all of your other factors on rent ratio. But equity over time is how we're building wealth. That's the wealth building side of buying rental properties, equity over time. So that's a very important part of it. Now, but that's not what you hear most of the time. Most of the time, you're going to hear everybody talk about your monthly cash flow. And this is, I think, the worst method to think about. Monthly cash flow should not mean anything to you because where the big misconception is I'm getting, $200 a month cash flow, $300 a month cash flow, whatever that number is. But nobody ever takes into account your vacancies, your repairs, all that stuff when that happens. And I've got some other videos that explain that in detail of what I'm talking about here. What I care about is profit at the end of the year. So if I am going for monthly cash flow and I have a vacancy for 2 months and then I have to do a make ready, and all it's cost me, $3,000 or $4,000 between the lost income and the make ready to get that tenant back in there, but then I get that tenant back there on that third month, and I got my monthly cash flow again. Well, I'm great. I'm doing great. No, you're not. You just spent $3,000, $4,000. You're not doing great. You're in the hole. So get out of that monthly cash flow mindset. I think it's the worst thing that we can do. Now, I'm a value play investor. I like to buy them beat up. I like to buy them as cheap as I can, and I want to put value back into it and hopefully add in increased value in that property. That's my biggest play for me, buying rental properties, flip properties, anything I do. That's what I do every chance I get. But then there's our momentum buyer, and being a momentum player is not a bad thing. Being a momentum player is when you're going in and buying a property that's already up and running, doesn't necessarily need any repairs or very little repairs, and it's already got a cash flow built, it's got profitability built into it. Generally, when you buy that, you're going to have less equity in the property and you're going to be paying more for it. So when you do that, do your numbers still work? Do your rent ratios still work? Where I find a momentum play works better for me, where I would consider a momentum play is going to be in a larger property, in a small multifamily, in a commercial deal. That's where I would consider the momentum play much more. If that's me personally, may not be you. All these things are totally up to you and how you think and how you want to do it. But these are some things I think are very important to think about. And this is part of your pre-planning on what you want to do and what kind of investor you want to be and where you want to position yourself in the game. How do you want that profit to be at the end of the game? Because, we have to play the game in all different ways to get to the end, to have that, hopefully hit that goal that we're shooting for. We also have to keep in mind that, markets are going to change. Things are going to go up, things are going to go down. We could have recessions. We could have all kinds of things happen out there in the world that are out of our control. So when we're buying these rental properties, I'm always looking at ways to try and recession-proof ourselves the best way we can. These are some of the things I look at to help me determine that. So hopefully you can take these things that I'm doing, put them in play for how you do your investing, how you want to buy properties, and hopefully I can help guide you a little bit to give you some better success and hopefully avoid some of the mistakes, because I've made a lot of them, and I'm not afraid to share them with you so that hopefully you don't have that same situation and you're not making those mistakes too. So hope I gave you some great info. Guys, give me some feedback. Let me know that you're getting something out of this. Give me some thumbs up, please. I need some thumbs up. I always like that. And share us. Let other investors, let your friends, family know if they want to get some education on real estate investing, that I can help you, and this is what I'm trying to do. So look forward to the next video, and we'll be seeing you real soon. Bye.